As a landlord, we've all been in that situation. It's Friday night, your phone rings, and your tenant's on the other end saying the refrigerator doesn't work. What do you do? New refrigerators have varied in price quite a bit over the last few years. Right when COVID hit, the appliance prices went through the roof, but we've seen them come down drastically since COVID. So before COVID, we were able to get refrigerators around $500-$600. They went up to $1,000. Now they're back down to $600-$700 for a new refrigerator. Stoves are a little less. Used appliances normally come in about half the price of the brand new appliance. So when your refrigerator isn't working, or any appliance, you first have to make a decision. Am I going to try to repair it, or am I going to try to replace it? 9 times out of 10, I'm in the camp of replacing the refrigerator or stove or whatever appliance it is. There's some exceptions, but for today's episode, we're going to talk about replacing. So you decide to replace it, you actually have 2 more options. Do you go with the new appliance, or do you go with the used appliance? Well, there's pros and cons to both options, and we're going to discuss those and see if there's a clear favorite here. First, I decided to go around and ask some people to see what they do. So let's see what they said when I asked them the question.
So you're at your home and your refrigerator breaks. Are you going to buy a new refrigerator, or are you going to buy a used refrigerator at a cheaper price?
I like getting the new appliances.
I recommend buying a refurnished fridge.
I am a new appliance guy.
New appliances.
Used appliances.
You see that there's a lot of different opinions on this topic. Let's dive a little deeper. All right, so used appliance. What's the reason for a used appliance? What's the pros? Well, the obvious, clear reason to get a used appliance is they're normally half the price, sometimes even less. So that's really appealing. Half the price, half the upfront cost. Maybe that's all you can afford. Cash flow is king, we know that. And if you put $1,000 or $800 into a new refrigerator, that's going to wipe out your cash flow for several months, most likely, if you have debt financing. So it is really tempting to get the cheaper option and have less money allocated up front, preserve the cash flow as long as you can. The used appliance is tough. A lot of times you're getting these used appliances and you don't really know the true age of these. Sometimes you can ask, you can see the model number, but you don't know how long it was being used. Was it being used hard? Was it not being used hard? How many times has it broken? So a lot of times when you're getting these used appliances, you really don't know what you're getting, and you're really just taking a gamble. And I've seen thousands of used appliances being purchased at the companies that I worked at or owned, and we've had great successes and miserable failures. So we've had some appliances that have lasted, that are still going strong 5-10 years later. And then we've had lots and lots of appliances break down 6 months later, a month later, a year later, 2 years later. For the sake of argument, let's just assume that you don't get a lemon. Let's assume you get a used appliance and it lasts 6 years. Approximately half the life of a new refrigerator. At half the price. Therefore making these an equal financial situation, right? Half the price, half the life. Let's go under the assumption that a half off used refrigerator will last half the time that a new refrigerator lasts. I think that's being optimistic because I've lived this, I've seen this. Maybe I just have bad luck, but more times than not, our used refrigerators were breaking down much quicker than what we were hoping for. But let's just assume it is half the price, half the life. That seems like a equal financial allocation, right? Yes and no. The thing that you should not discount is a used appliance means you are going to be, at best, getting new appliances twice as frequently. Sure, I know it's half the price, but you're still having that experience of getting an appliance twice as often. For the tenant, that's a horrible experience. Every time the tenant has a refrigerator that stops working, they're losing their food. You're probably giving a rent credit back because they probably have to throw away a lot of their food. They may have gone a week then without a refrigerator, so you can get a new one in from Home Depot or Lowe's. This is a very negative experience for your tenant, one that makes them more likely to move out, one that makes them more likely to withhold rent. This is a bad experience. This is also a bad, stressful, negative experience for the owner, for you, the landlord. You don't want to be dealing with this. You want to have the passive income. That's why you probably started investing in real estate in the first place. So why would you want to have twice as many stressful scenarios occur with appliances? So because of those reasons, for me, it's a no-brainer that you should be getting new appliances to decrease the negative experience that you're having as a landlord and the negative experiences that your tenant will have as a tenant. Now, I understand there are some exceptions. Sometimes when you might need to buy a used refrigerator, you literally cannot afford to buy a new one. You're selling the property. The scratch and dent. We didn't really talk about it, but I do want to point it out. If you have a local scratch and dent store, that to me is the real way to go. Because you're getting a brand new appliance that might have a little scratch or a little dent at a fraction of the price of a normal new appliance. If it's going in a rental property, there's a good chance it's going to get scratched or dented up anyways in the first year. So why don't you get a discount up front for that scratch and dent? If you have a store that offers that, go for it. So in conclusion, I hope your appliances keep on ticking. I know no one wants that phone call from your tenant, but if they do happen to break down, one, I strongly encourage you, don't put the money into repairing it. Just go get another appliance, and don't get a used appliance. Get a new appliance. Trust me, you won't regret it.